You all know what time it is. That's right. It is playoff hockey time. We have just a few days left in the regular season. Tons, and I mean tons of implications are coming up right now. As we are recording this episode, you have teams that are fighting for their playoff futures and lives, as well as teams trying to lock up one seeds in their divisions to make sure they get the favorable matchup they want. President's Trophy is up for grabs. All this coming down to the wire, and we're going to break it down for you, East and West playoff matchups for the first round, what to expect next here on The Crease. Welcome into The Crease. Before we get into all that great hockey action I was just breaking down for you, I want to give a big shout out to one of our special sponsors, and that is Dubby. If you are looking for an energy supplement that has none of the jitter but all of the focus, you can go to Dubby.gg. Use the code in the description of this video is THEHOUSECALL, all caps, no spaces, THEHOUSECALL, to get 10% off your order. They also have hydration supplements. So if you're an athlete like I am, I go out and I play soccer out in the Alabama sun. I know Ian's out there. He's playing all kinds of sports. He's a young kid out there in college doing all the young kid things. You need a supplement that can keep up with you and give you the hydration you need. Dubby's got that too. Go there, get your stuff, get 10% off your order, and be sure to use our code to do that. It'll be in the description. You can also use the link in the description of this video to go there, and I'll also give you 10% off. That is our custom link. But go get yourself some Dubby, man. I use it right now. The Calio cream, which is an orange creamsicle flavor, is amazing. I've had their Beach and Peach, which is like a peach rings, a little candy, gooey candy, or gummy candy, is amazing. Love all their flavors so far. I'm going to keep trying all their flavors. Just check them out. But go get you some Dubby. Ian, we're going to start in the East, which has been kind of lackluster, I guess, in the form of talent. There's really only 4 teams that you're really looking at, and one of those teams could end up being out in the first round. We did a breakdown on them in our last episode, one of our last episodes here. But we're going to go into the uncertainty of the East right now in the playoffs, and that is how the top of the Atlantic is looking. Realistically, the top and the bottom of the Metropolitan and the wild card spots right now, all up for grabs. We have a 3-way tie, 4 teams in play for the second wild card with just 3 days left in the season. All 4 of these teams, I believe, are either playing right now, and if they're playing, they're winning. Then you look at the Metropolitan at the top. You have the Hurricanes and the Rangers, 1 point away from each other. The Canes are on an absolute heater right now, winning 5 in a row. They're 1 point back. Both at 81 games, 1 game left to decide who wins the Metropolitan. The Boston Bruins and the Florida Panthers are 1 point away. The Bruins do have a game in hand, but they are down right now to the Capitals. We'll be keeping a close eye on that one. And if they tied in points,
Florida would have
them. So, with all that in mind, the way it sits right now, if this was to end, the Boston Bruins would be welcoming the Tampa Bay Lightning, and the Washington Capitals would be going to see New York. However, we're going to play a little devil's advocate here. There is a lot that can happen. The Flyers are the only team right now in this four-team run right now that only have 1 game left. The Capitals, Detroit Red Wings, and Pittsburgh Penguins right now are all playing. They're all winning as well. All at 80 games. They have 2 games left to play, one after this one. If they all tie in points, if they do, the Pittsburgh Penguins, as of right now, have the most regulation wins at 31 and would win the tiebreaker and be in the
last
playoffs.
wild card.
As the last wild card.
They're up 2-0 right now, too.
They are up 2-0 right now. So
at the end of 1.
I'm going to come out with it, and I want to hear who you think is winning that final wild card spot with 2 games left. One after once this gets posted, it'll probably be 1 left. And who's going to go and face either the Rangers or the Hurricanes based on who wins that matchup?
Ooh, that's tough. Oh, man. That's difficult. I think the Red Wings on paper are the best team, but that doesn't translate on the ice all the time. And it certainly hasn't, because they're down 2-1 to Montreal at the top of the second period right now. Pittsburgh looks like they're going about their business. So does Washington. That's difficult, Joe. You're putting me on the spot,
I'll
but
tell you who's been hot. The Penguins have actually been out of those 4 teams right now. The Penguins have been the best team. They're 7-1-2 in their last 10. And
but is it too little, too late?
it almost feels like it, right? That's what I was going to say. It almost feels like it was too late. They turned it on too late, and now they're in a situation where they're like, can they make it? Can they not?
Like, oh no, we got to get in gear. Like if they had done this a couple months ago, if they just hadn't been trying to straddle the line of playoff team and not, they'd be a wild card right now. How it stands right now is, it's not looking good for any of them.
No.
To be honest, okay, let's say Pittsburgh wins. Let's say Pittsburgh hangs on today. Well, let's also say Washington hangs on today. They're both at 81 games apiece. Washington would be at 89 points. Pittsburgh would be at 88. And that's not even accounting for if Detroit comes back and wins. Detroit has to win today. Detroit 100% has to win today. Do the Flyers play today or not? No, they don't.
No, the Flyers do not play until tomorrow. They will play their 82nd game against the Washington Capitals in Philly.
Remember a month ago when we said mark this one on paper?
Yeah, there it is. It's coming down. It's going to come down to fruition here.
A month ago, I said, and you agreed with me, Joe, let's mark this one down on the calendar because that could be the deciding factor. That is going to be the biggest game of the Flyers season tomorrow, especially if Washington loses this game
Absolutely.
tonight. If the Flyers, what the Flyers have to do tomorrow is if the Capitals lose this game, they drop this game to, I believe, it is the
Bruins right now.
Bruins. Ooh, that's a tough matchup. Coming off a back-to-back with the Bruins, the Flyers have to jump on them. The Flyers don't have a choice but to jump on them because if they don't, that could very well end their season. How it stands right now, Washington, if it all plays out, if everybody wins out, Washington's in. Somebody has to lose along the way. I think, didn't Washington beat Detroit already earlier this week?
Yeah, so Washington on the head-to-head has Detroit's number. So Detroit is losing in the regulation wins margin 27-30. That's a tiebreaker. The next one after that would be the head-to-head matchup that Detroit also is losing. So yeah,
and Detroit lost to Pittsburgh earlier. Detroit lost to Pittsburgh last week in OT.
Indeed, they did. So
they got a point on it, but that's difficult.
It's going to be interesting here, right?
Detroit has to win tonight. If Detroit loses tonight, they're done, I think.
If the Capitals go 1-1 and Detroit goes 1-1 and Pittsburgh wins out, which they can win out because the Islanders have nothing left to play for.
But it's a division rival. They won't take that one lightly.
I mean, it really actually, you know what? I take that back. The Islanders do have something to play for because guess what happens if the Pittsburgh Penguins win out and the Islanders don't win another game?
The Islanders crap out. That's
the Islanders. The Islanders flop with the Penguins. The Penguins become the 3.
That's the third spot in the Metro because Pittsburgh has 4 on them in regulation, and they can't make that up.
Nope, sure can't. So it is all coming down here.
I think the Islanders are up right now. So, they just allowed a goal. They're down. They're up 2-1 on the Devils.
2-1 on the Devils in New Jersey. This is some of the best time. If you're not, you know what? If you're not, I understand we're going to be posting this after this game, but if you're not watching hockey right now, this is the most playoff atmosphere hockey you could possibly ask for.
This is coming down to the wire. I get the Eastern playoff race for the last 2 teams is trash, but it's by no means boring. Because these teams have a lot to play for. Montreal is out, but they want to play spoiler on the division rival Red Wings, and they're doing it right now.
Back-to-back at that. They face them 2 in a row. They got them today and tomorrow. They're in Detroit today. They go to Montreal tomorrow.
Oh, Detroit has to win that. Detroit, that's game 81 and 80. This is game 81 and 82.
In a back-to-back.
Oh, wow. Yeah, Detroit doesn't have a choice. They've got to Montreal, division rivalry. Montreal's not going to go away quietly. Detroit has to get it together. They have to win this game. They have to pull it out, and they have to win tomorrow. That's no easy task. So based on that, and I know we've gone the long way about it, it's taken me about 7 minutes. Let's see. Games on Wednesday.
The Wednesday games are Penguins in New York for the Islanders. And then that's the only game that matters there for this playoff. That's the last game. The last games that matters for this is going to be
Caps Flyers is game 82 for both teams.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And the Flyers are coming off rest, getting the Capitals after they're in Boston.
Capitals better. Ooh. Let's look at that. So let's see if Washington loses tonight to Boston.
They are up 1-0 right now.
They're up 1-0, but I'm not counting it out. It's Boston. So let's see. Oh, Washington. You know what? I think Philly's going to shock the world. They're coming off rest. The Capitals have a tough set to end their season against Boston, arguably a top 3 team in the East right now. And they're going to have to play a desperate Flyers team on rest. Saying that, the Flyers are young, and the Capitals know this is Ovi's last shot.
Yeah, it's tough. And you know what the worst part is? We have wasted like 12 minutes on this.
No, but it's a fascinating topic, though.
It really is. And then, but what I was going to say is that we did like 12 minutes on this, and then we're going to go, well, whoever it is doesn't really matter if they're getting swept by either the Rangers or the Canes. That's what they're playing for. If we're going to be fair with it, I mean,
now watch them get in and beat the Rangers.
Oh man, first lives on.
If Philly plays New York in round 1, I could see Philly winning that series. Only because New York doesn't have good analytics on their side, and Philly plays trap hockey. A team playing with house money, playing like they have nothing to lose against the President's Trophy winners? Now, if it's the Hurricanes, they'll beat the Hurricanes will win that series, but the Rangers, I could see them taking that one.
It would be interesting. I mean, I don't know. I kind of feel like all these teams feel the same way to me. Like the Red Wings and the Penguins should be the playoff team. They've got a better goal differential. They're playing better hockey right now. They look better on the ice. They just turned it on too late. I mean, they really did. The Wings had a lot of injuries this year, and it held them back. I think that at the beginning of the year when they were healthy, they looked like a juggernaut. They looked like they were going to be one of the top 3 seeds.
Canadians just scored again. Sorry to interrupt you. They're Red Wings down 3-1.
Oh man,
I think that's the dagger.
That might be. It's crazy though, and but it's true though. So it's like insert team here, but they're going to go up against probably the President Trophy winning team, unless something crazy happens and the Stars. It doesn't really matter. Like it's going to come down to regulation wins. The Stars don't have it. It's going to either be the Rangers or the Canes are going to win the President's Trophy. So you're going up against the President's Trophy.
Both of those teams collapse,
which I don't think it's possible.
The Canes play the Blue Jackets and the Rangers. The Rangers haven't done well though this last.
The Rangers they're playing their last game right now against the Ottawa Senators. They're up 1-0.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't think the Stars win the President's Trophy. I'm not worried about that at all.
Yeah, but I mean, like that's another thing, right? Like how many times have we seen the President's Trophy curse rear its ugly head? Especially last year. I mean,
last
literally.
year when Florida won it. Who won it in 21? Was that Pittsburgh? No, that wasn't Pittsburgh. That was Colorado. Colorado losing in 6. Back in 2020, Boston sliding from the President's Trophy to the 4 seed, and then Tampa getting swept back in 2019.
So, I mean, it's not outside of the curse. Like, I'm a big curse guy. We've already talked about my Cubs fandom, 108 years because of the Billy Goat. Don't even want to talk about it right now. But it's a thing, man. Like, it's in their heads, right? Like, one bad game and suddenly here it is again. So, as much as I would like to say that whoever they go up against are probably getting swept, there's a chance. There's an outsider's chance. I would say,
especially if it's the Rangers.
If you start looking at it, though, like we already know what the Rangers have to do to win that game if it's the Rangers, right? We already know what the Canes have to do to win that game if it's the Canes. I mean, I feel like, they just got to play their style of hockey. But if you go like for the Capitals to win, if the Capitals make it, or the Red Wings to win if they make it, or the Flyers or the Penguins, you almost have to play perfect to beat these teams because they have so much talent. And, there's a reason that they are where they are. These teams aren't set up like the Florida Panthers were last year going up against the Boston Bruins, right?
No.
They don't have playoff Bob, they don't have the defense, they don't have, that grit that you saw from Florida. So I just don't know if the President's Trophy's curse is going to happen this year in the first round, because I just don't see any of these teams being able to do it. I really don't know. I mean, you're really talking about like perfect hockey.
True. Now, on that note, the Capitals do have to lose tonight, because if they win tonight against the Bruins in regulation, the Flyers are done, because they would have 31 regulation wins. The Flyers would have to... I don't know what the tiebreaker on that would be, because if the Flyers won that game, they would be tied for wins. Would it go to head-to-head?
It would go to head-to-head.
And what's the head-to-head record?
Let's see here. I'm trying to find it. So
they've played 3 games against each other.
They're tied. Or they played 3 games against each other this year?
I think so. Because don't you play... I'm pretty sure you play 4 division games.
Their third game will be the end of the year.
They're tied?
The Flyers have one. The Capitals have one. If what I'm saying is here is correct. Trying to find it.
Oh man! Tomorrow night. Oh man! Philly, Washington tomorrow night. If Washington wins tonight, on that note, if Washington wins in regulation, they'd tie in regulation wins if Philly beats them tomorrow night. So then, if it would go head to head, then Philly would get in on the 1-1 tiebreaker, which I think they've played more than 3 games against each other. Let me look up Philly's record against...
I'm only seeing 2 games this season. They played December 15th and February 3rd, and they're 1-1.
2023-24 rec. I'm going on to Stats Muse right now.
I'm telling you, they're 1-1 against each other.
They're 1-1.
They play their
You're
third
right.
game.
They're 1-1.
They'll play their third game tomorrow.
Now, let me look up all the tiebreakers just so that we're not...
I have the tiebreakers up. So, number 1, fewer number of games played, so superior points percentage, which won't matter at the end of the year.
It won't matter at the end of the year, you're right.
The greater number of games won, excluding games won in overtime or by shootout, they'll both have 31 if the Flyers win on Tuesday and the Capitals win tonight.
Yeah, so the regulation wins
that won't matter.
What's the second tiebreaker?
The greater number of games won, excluding games won by shootout. So we can go to shootout wins. The Flyers are 4.
They're tied in shootout wins.
Yep. And the Capitals are 4 and 5. And then you go the greater number of points earned in games against each other among 2 or more tied clubs. So that's where it'll come down to it, is when they face off on Tuesday. If the Flyers win, they will own the head-to-head matchup and will.
If they win, they're the wild card. That's if Pittsburgh doesn't completely fumble. Well, saying that, Pittsburgh can only get to 90 points.
Yes, Pittsburgh can only get to 90 points.
Pittsburgh can get to 90 points. Philly can only get to 89.
Yeah, so if the Flyers win and the Capitals win and the Pittsburgh wins tonight...
Pittsburgh's scenario, if the Capitals win tonight, is they have to be Flyers fans tomorrow night, and they have to win out. Because their last game of the season...
against the Islanders in New York.
Oh, the Islanders are going to bring out their entire lineup. They're going to try to knock Pittsburgh out that night. That's going to be a must-watch game. If you're a Flyers fan, the games to watch this week are obviously tomorrow night, which by the time this goes out, it'll be late. The games to watch for this week are Flyers Capitals, and then you have to be Islanders fans.
And all that just to possibly have a matchup with the Canes or the Rangers.
And all that to possibly not even make the playoffs, because we're acting like Detroit can't make it.
So Detroit is actually in a really good spot here. They can have 91 points. And I think right now they're down 3-1.
They are down
So if they
3-1.
lose, they can only get 89. So it's Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is the only team right now that still has a shot at 90.
Yeah, that's tough. That's tough because, oh gosh, Detroit, you can't lay an egg at all tonight. With Detroit, I think if the results hold up, Detroit's out, and I think it's going to be where's the game being played?
So tonight's game's in Detroit. Tomorrow's game is in Montreal for
Montreal.
Detroit.
So the Flyers Capitals play in Philly.
Yes.
The Penguins have to go to New York. Yeah, yes. I'm taking the Flyers to make the playoffs as the last seed with the 89-point Flyers.
And we get another Philly-New York matchup, a hated rivalry.
And somehow Philly will win in 7 games.
Oh my God, that's some dark horse stuff right there. There's your bold prediction.
That is the bold prediction. No. My official bold prediction. Yes, that's my prediction. If they play the New York Rangers, they are losing to the New York. They are beating the New York Rangers in 7 games. If they play Carolina, they're losing in 4 or 5.
There you go, Flyers fans. If you want to make it to the second round of the playoffs, you better hope New York wins the President's Trophy.
And even then, you'd have to play Carolina in round 2. Because I'm sorry, the Islanders aren't beating the Hurricanes.
Yeah. So
my goodness.
So yeah.
Well, that took 20 minutes, but finally, I'm predicting the Flyers to make. I'm predicting the Flyers to get the second wild card spot, and the Islanders to hang on to the 3rd spot in the Metro.
So we're out of the Metro now. We've decided the Metro is done. Your two teams are going to move on are if the Rangers win the President's Trophy, it'll be the Flyers and a dark horse pick. I'm going to go with Ian on that one because I love an underdog, and the Canes beating the Islanders. So it'll be a Canes Flyers matchup
in round 2,
which I think
we've never seen before. I don't think
it'll be interesting. We'll break down round 2 later. We're going to break down round 2 later. This is a round 1 video.
It took us 20 minutes to get past that. That's ridiculous.
It's 4 teams. It's okay, So now we have a very interesting thing. We have Tampa Bay and the Boston Bruins if they hold out as the 1 seed in the Atlantic. You have the Panthers and Maple Leafs. And what's interesting here is you have 2 proficient goal scorers going at it in Florida and Toronto. Obviously, probably the best goal scorer in the league outside of maybe McDavid, you could make an argument, in Austin Matthews, who I think for the Leafs to win, or McKinnon, for the Leafs to win that, it's going to have to be somebody other than Austin Matthews. Because I think Florida has the defensive capability to lock him up.
The thing is, Matthews performs, but he drops off a little bit. I think the X factor in this series there's a couple X factors. I think the X factors in this series, because Matthews is going to get his goals. He scores goals in the playoffs every year. It just drops a little bit. William Nylander is money in the playoffs, as is Morgan Riley. I think the X factors to look for with the Toronto Maple Leafs are going to be Mitch Marner and Ilya Samsonov. Because Ilya Samsonov has to play up to form if he wants to outduel Sergei Bobrovsky. And Mitch Marner has been noted to have his struggles in the playoffs every year dating back to 2019. And the 2021 series against Montreal showed it. Now, he had a better playoff the year after, but he still got that label. So I think your ultimate X factor for Toronto, if they want to do anything in this series, is Mitch Marner playing up to the level that we know he can. They've got other playoff performers on that roster, like Tyler Bertuzzi. I get it was 1 year playoff experience last year in one series. He played fantastic. He was not the reason Boston got eliminated last year. I like Max Domi. I like some of the other guys they've got, but their stars have to show up, and I think that starts from the top, and I think that starts with Marner. Because we know what Matthews can do. We know what Nylander can do. Having said that, Florida's going to win that series in 5 or 6.
I mean, I feel the same way. I feel like for the Maple Leafs to win, like I said, it has to be anybody but Austin Matthews. Somebody else has to step up. I feel like, and it's going to come down to which defense plays better, which goalie plays better. But I feel like at the end of the day, you know what you're going to get from Austin Matthews. It has to be somebody else too who's got to be the difference maker in this, because Florida's going to have a plan for him. They're going to have a plan for the top three. They're going to have a line that's going to roll out there that's going to be specifically for when they're on the ice. And they're going to make sure that they're matched up accordingly and making sure that, those guys are locked down. It has to be somebody else. I'm with you. I don't see the Toronto making it out of the first round. I wouldn't be surprised if this goes 7. I think Matthews is going to have a few breakout games where they're just not going to be able to contain him. I think he's too good of a goal scorer to be locked down consistently. I just don't know if there's enough someone else who can rise to the occasion in Toronto.
Nylander can.
I mean, he can, but I'm saying
Nylander's their best playoff performer. I think the other thing is Tavares at this stage in his career, John Tavares is their second best playoff performing forward since they've had him. But at this stage in his career, can you depend on him for that? Because now he's 33 years old. He's a little bit older. He's having a bit of a down year. And I just think that this core in Toronto has run out of time. I don't think they can get it done. I think last year was their best shot, and they got gentlemen swept by a worse Panthers team on paper. And I think this Panthers team is much better than the one that went to the final last year. I think this roster is going to take it to Toronto in round 1. I think this is the year that Toronto, I honestly wouldn't be shocked if they got swept.
I mean, I'd be right there with you.
I think if they lose in 4 or 5 in the first round, this is the year that pieces get traded and they start a retool, because you can't get rid of Matthews, but you can get rid of Marner. That contract is, he hasn't re-signed him. They haven't signed him to an extension. You've got Matthews and Nylander locked up. You have to get rid of John Tavares. You have to get rid of Mitch Marner after this year if you lose in 4 or 5. I think if you lose in the first round, period. Florida in 5.
I'm good with that. So we'll move on to the last game in the East. That is my Boston Bruins, who are near and dear to my heart, going against the Tampa Bay Lightning. I'm going to go ahead and give you a little bit of stats here, all right? Both of the goalies for the Bruins are, in goals against per game, all those sorts of things, all the things that matter, have a better goalie tandem than Tampa Bay does.
Tandem-wise, yes.
That being said, Tampa Bay has significantly better players on the ice from a statistical point of view. If you were to look at the stats from points, goals, whatever you want to go off of,
their depth is extremely underrated.
It is probably one of the more interesting teams. I mean, they have 2 guys in the top 10 in goals. They have 2 guys in the top 10 in assists.
They have 6 20-plus goal scorers.
Yes, and they have multiple guys in the top 20 or the top 30 in points.
And they've got Kucherov playing with fire.
Yes, so this is a very scary matchup for the Boston Bruins, and it's kind of why I kind of see them being ousted in the first round again, and I'm not getting my hopes up as a Bruins fan that they're going to somehow find the second round. I mean, the Tampa Bay Lightning haven't been on the year very good at preventing other people from scoring. However, what they have been really good at is finding the back of the net. Yes, and I think if I am 100% correct here, there are only 3 teams that have found the back of the net more proficiently than the Toronto Maple Leafs. And those teams are actually it's only 2 teams. I take that back. It is where's it at here? You have the Colorado Avalanche at 299. They got them by 2 goals. And that is actually it.
Are they the second highest scoring team in the NHL this year?
297 goals for. The Dallas Stars have 296. The Avalanche have 299.
Golly, the Central Division is loaded.
Nuts. So they are one of the most proficient goal scoring teams in the league,
especially on the power play. What's their power play? First in the league this year again?
Wouldn't surprise me.
No, I'm pretty sure they do have the best power play in the league, and if that's the case, how penalized has Boston been this year?
Yeah. Tampa Bay Lightning leads at a 28.9.
That's ridiculous. And I thought Edmonton's power play last year was good. Well, it still is statistically the best power play of all time, but Tampa, they know how to do it. They can get it done on the power play. You cannot take penalties against that team.
I'm trying to see the power play or the point.
Well, while you look at that, I'll just get into how I think this matchup plays out. If it turns into a goalie duel, I like Ullmark. He's had 2 dud playoff performances. It wasn't just last year where he was hurt, but he had a dud against Carolina the year before that. And Swayman has only played 1 game in the playoffs. Game 7 was nowhere near his fault. But that's a guy with minimal playoff experience against a guy who is a proven playoff goalie and is a playoff MVP in Andrei Vasilevsky. This Tampa team, if you look on their roster, is deep. Their center depth is far superior to that of Boston, because Boston, let me look at their center depth real quick.
And while you're doing that, the Tampa Bay Lightning are first in power play conversion percentage at 28.9. They are fifth in power play kill, or in the penalty kill at 83%. The Boston Bruins are significantly worse at 22% in power play percentage, and their penalty kill is just 2 back of the Lightning at 82.3. So they're not they're a top 10 penalty kill team. However, you're going to have against the best penalty.
You still can't take a penalty against them.
No, absolutely not. And Boston ranks right in the middle of the league in penalty minutes this year. So they do just about the average.
Let's look at the roster top to bottom. I'm going to look at Boston's first. The first thing that is glaring to me, center depth. And I already said it, but Boston's 1 through 4 centers are Charlie Coyle, Pavel Zacha, Trent Frederick, and Morgan Geekie. Their top 2 centers are very good players. Charlie Coyle is probably more ideally suited for a second-line center role, but he's their first-line center. He's done a good job of it. They've been admirable. I'll give them that. They do not have Braden Point, Steven Stamkos, and Anthony Cirelli. Braden Point is the quietest 40-plus goal scorer in the league, 89 points this year, is one of the most underrated players in the league. Nobody talks about him. Last year he had 50 goals, and he is one of the best playoff performers this league has ever seen, statistically. Steven Stamkos, nothing needs to be said for him. His resume speaks for itself. He's a bona fide goal scorer. And Anthony Cirelli as your third-line center, 20 goal scorer, 45 points, and he's one of the better defensive forwards in the league. So they can score on you 1 and 2 and then shut you down 3 and 4 because their fourth-line center, Luke Glendening, is a beast in the defensive zone. And he can pot some goals too. He's got 10 this year as, I believe, a 34-year-old. Yeah, he's 34 years old. He's playing his role and playing it well. They've also got Mikey Isamont, who I think they slot him more on the wing anyways, but that's not nobody. He can chip in offense here and there. Their defense isn't as good. They've still got Victor Hedman playing like Victor Hedman, and he'll never stop playing like Victor Hedman until he falls off. Sergachev's hurt this year, but they've still got Chernak. Darren Radish has looked pretty good in spurts, and Nick Perbix looks pretty good on defense as well. I don't think I take their D core over Boston's because I trust Boston's defense core a little bit more. But if it comes down to center depth and offense, Boston is going to lose. That, and historically, with these two cores, this hasn't been a good matchup for Boston. The last two times they've played Tampa Bay in the playoffs, they've gotten beaten 5 both times. So I think this is going to be a tough matchup. And my final prediction, I'm taking Tampa Bay in 6.
I mean, I almost want to just take Tampa in 5 because you already said it's what happens, and it's going to take a masterclass. Like when we talked about what the Leafs needed to have happen to win this game, you almost need the Bruins to have just their centers need to play above and beyond. And I don't think, even as talented as I think Charlie Coyle can be, and Trent Frederick is, and Pavel Zacha is, it doesn't matter because they're not on the level of the talent they're going against. And I think that it's going to show. I think they're going to get eaten up in the middle. And I think that as good as the defense is in Boston, they're just going to get battered so much. And I think game 1 is going to tell you how this is going to go. If Boston wins game 1, I could see it going 6. If they lose game 1, I'd be surprised if it goes 5.
Not to mention Tampa. This Tampa team is livid right now. With how they went out in the playoffs last year, Kucherov said that he was going to set the world on fire, and he's done it. And I don't think he's done yet.
No, absolutely not.
So I'm sorry about your Bruins, but I can't pick them in this series.
Yeah,
I
as
just
much as I would
think
like to see
Tampa
the
has
Boston
their
Bruins come
number.
back and make a run. Yeah.
I just think Tampa has their number.
Yeah, it's going to happen. So that's how it goes down. You have the Panthers and the Lightning moving on, facing off in round 2, and that's all we got for the East.
What a matchup
now we're
that
gonna
would be in
move on.
round 2.
Oh, I know, right? But all the same, as of right now, we went off what the scores are, what it's looking like, and that will be how the first round ends in both the East and the Western Conferences. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. We'll be breaking down the games as they happen, seeing how the series progresses, and giving you our second round predictions when it is time for the second round to break it down, how we see these series going. Until then, be sure to like, follow, and subscribe on all our social media platforms. Be sure to go to w.gg and support our sponsor and use our code to get 10% off your order. And be sure to check out all of our other affiliates. You can go to our website, which will be down in the description of this video. It has our affiliate links as well as all of our blogs. You can check all of that out and more. Be sure to like, follow, and subscribe all of our other channels. Well, if you're a football fan, we got a channel for that. You're a baseball fan, we got a channel for that. We got a basketball channel as well as our Fight Pit, which does all of our WWE, MMA,
Check them out.
and
They've
boxing.
been amazing these
Been
last
amazing.
couple weeks. With
Great
their
contact.
interviews with Stitch Duran. Check them out, please.
UFC
They're
300
doing
just
God's
happened.
work over there.
Amazing stuff there in the Fight Pit. Absolutely. But that's all we got time for today on The Crease. We'll see you here next time.